Responding to your comments, tapes, volume 3. This one is going to be talking about the two videos I did relative to trans, basically the recent video and the recent case of the alleged trans woman, man, whatever you want to call it, that decided to shoot up a school in Nashville, Tennessee last week, and also talking about transmaxing. And also one of the things that I would like to, bring to the attention, just having this whole entire thing that's going down with the perverse ways of our society is looking at figures like Dylan Mulvaney with the whole entire girlhood thing and, wanting to transition and all these different things like that. See, the thing about it is, it's like I said many times, or a lot of videos that I did, the focus is primarily, besides feminizing the man, blurring the spectrums on gender. So a lot of the times the conversations about, oh, well, I don't feel like a man and I don't feel like a woman, da 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 da. The circus is becoming ever so clearly out there. And each day that you're seeing it for what it is, it becomes weirder and weirder for the moment. But I wanted to see what you guys were going to say specifically about the trans school shooting that happened last week, in which I had told you guys this is a scripted reality. The signs is on the wall. There's a lot of 333 references, 369. Also, when I had told you about the choice of clothes that individual, believe the name is Audrey, decided to wear, that told you a lot of different things about the scenario and the situation. And you have to think to yourself, even if you don't want to go with my narrative of me believing this is a scripted reality, why would a 28-year-old want to go to a grade school and shoot it up? What was the reason? Was there any prior problems that happened at that school after that individual attended it? And so there's still a lot of investigations that's going on right now. Like I said, it's always going to be these circular conversations in which they're hoping to do in America is to go along with the whole entire idea about gun reform. So it's a lot of ways to slice this pie. I will say to you guys, there may be a possibility I may put more of why I am putting this theory and this thesis together on a separate platform, not on YouTube. But let me load up my screen. Let me show you guys. So, addressing your comments about this. To start off, Brian Carter 2052 says, yeah, your math is bad. 2023 times 3 equals 2069. And again, there's a lot of people who need to understand that you need to watch and hear what I'm saying. That never did I ever do multiplication in my video, because I'm trying to give you the spiritual meaning behind it, especially if you do things like gematria or numerology about these scripted events and all these different things that happen, even what's going on in your world right now. The 3 years of 2021, 2022, and 2023 is important because if you add them up, it still adds up to 6,066. That's why I made that references. That's why I made that references if reference, and that's why I said that. It had nothing to do with multiplication. Okay. Molded Gunk says she wanted to fit the white male shooter stereotype. Well, what are we saying is the white male shooter stereotype? Because throughout history, and when it came to a lot of these mass shootings, yeah, it was so-called white men or, young white boys being the poster child for mass shootings. But let's even take into account something that happened with the Virginia Tech shooting that happened back in, I believe, 2007. It was a white male and an Asian male that decided to do the school shooting. And I don't give off the thought that a particular situation like this is that this individual is trying to fit a specific stereotype about being a white male shooter. The grasp that I get is that the narrative that's going to go into this is that they want to rebel against Christianity or anything that has any markings that have to do with God, the Most High, or any individual aspects of that point. Being a trans or the trans narrative lets you know that's the smoking mirrors to the situation. That's the main plot. Then after that, you go into a Christian school, you know that there are certain things that Christians practice that trans don't believe in. So when talking about a stereotype of trying to be applicable to a white male, I have to humbly disagree with that. Okay. Sunkissed Spiritual says, I don't care what they experience. Ain't no reason for no adult to go kill children when they can kill themselves. And I agree with you. But the point is certain events that happen, especially with it being spring, which I'm actually studying right now. I know there's another content creator who can explain it better than I can. But, a lot of these different things that take place, whether we're saying this is a real or a scripted event, is to commemorate a lot of the spiritual practices or things that happen around the spring or the summer solstice, or anything that happens with the solstices in general. There's always some catastrophic event that usually happens around this time, especially with it being the renewal of seasons or the rebirth of things. That's why I even said, probably on a live that I did, on a Brownstone powwow that I did, that spring is to commemorate the rebirth of life. So that's why you usually hear me say that spring is the actual new year, not January 1st. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. She also says, oh, so you'll play with numerology, but you'll turn up thy nose on astrology. Yes, I turn my nose up on astrology. There's many reasons why I turn up my nose on astrology. I'm not going to really get into that now, but it's a lot of practices that's not really naturally made to be, that wasn't natural for those that's followers of the Most High, or who sees things for what they really are. And it's nothing against you personally about you wanting to study astrology, but it's a lot of reasons why I believe I stand back from astrology. But yeah. Satan time is up says good research and info. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Marquise 912 says this isn't the first trans shooter. There have been a few others. And he's also responding to the original title of the video says the first trans school shooter. Actually changed it, just said the trans school shooter. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. Band Garcia 2.0 says, why is it always these weirdo lefties doing the shootings? My opinion on that is because it's really funny to say this. Well, my thing about it is there needs to be a plot. So when a plot is applied, they need something that's very gullible. So using the leftists, right? Using anything that has to do with the left, the liberal left, and all these different things, liberals for lack of a better term, it's being able to cause chaos. So you can cause chaos with a known group or known side, a known ideology that always causes chaos. So you can't really be surprised by that. So it's in my next video, an older video that was talking about transmaxing, and I described it and I questioned it. I said transmaxing is the solution for incel problems. And why this should be brought to your attention is because as the dating pool being the way that it is, in which I specifically told everyone that the dating pool is pretty much dead. And then also the options for men starts to realm into fluidity. A lot of these different things about masculinity is being whipped away in order for men to forget who they are. So it's becoming acceptable for this whole entire concept of transmaxing to come in. And I do believe they're not doing transmaxing for the idea that they are actually homosexual. They're doing transmaxing as a way of coping and acceptance, because they understand that when it comes to the feminine power, more women get attention just for being a woman. especially if you are an attractive woman. They're gonna pay attention to you more. You understand? So there's like I remember seeing this. Maybe I put it on this video. There was a World Star Hip Hop video that I did that I had saw and I had grabbed about this. This seems to be a young black man who was staring into the camera, and they said that I don't get women, I don't do this, I don't do that. And so, basically at the tail end of the video, it says, "So I've become one." And also there was another video that I had did way back in which I was talking about how I was making this fun little commentary about how they have men who get these hair transplants or get these man weaves. And what you seen in this video was another black man who was sitting in a hairstylist chair, and they decided to basically put a weave on top of their head and get the makeup done and stuff like that so they can appear to look like a woman. See, the problem in this world is, so many women, the modern day woman needs to understand how these options that you want in men is going to become abysmal. You know how a lot of these women talk about they want this high value man at 6 feet, 6 inch, six, this, that, and the third. And then, you have a lot of these women that talk about how much they have problems out there in Atlanta and all these other like liberal cities and stuff like that. So y'all going to start appreciating the men out there that ain't the status quo for what you think these like, nice little men are. You know what I'm saying? Y'all going to have to start opening your world. But, women are always going to be like that. The problem is the men. The men are becoming too influenced. Like how you see in this photo. You see in this photo how you have these two guys that are the subjects of transmaxing, right? This one right here, I believe, is a content creator on YouTube and has been in frequent debates with other people about trans identity and all this other stuff. I don't know who this individual are. These individuals are. The second individual is, but this is what I mean. You see how, and you see how the fact of the matter is, it's going to become one of those sort of things. Going to have to start sneaking around and looking at those IDs. And even with those IDs, they're going to trip you up because now they can say gender X. I don't identify as such and such. Going to have to do some investigations on these women you're dealing with. Because I think probably later this week, I'll probably try to put up as a short. There's a clip that I saw that I thought was very alarming that they're putting out there now. But Kinging You says, can't beat them, join them. And that's the problem right there, because you are enabling their actions and being okay with it and saying, it's the basically defeated type of mindset, right? And the one thing that we have to understand in this conversation is we have to spread the awareness of the fluidity that they're trying to approach with, being acceptable into damn near homosexual behaviors and then phrasing it as fluid or saying that there's nothing wrong with it. It's not homosexual. It's not a homosexual activity if you don't think about it or, you don't give into it or you're that's not your mindset. Like, nah, you have to call a spade a spade. You know what I mean? So, no, it's not about can't beat them, join them. There's a lot of different things that men can do in order to, get a woman that they want or, be attractive to someone. I always preach social groups or, finding a place where you can just have a pretty much basic conversation. See, the problem in this society, and I've learned this as I gotten, older, more specifically, my teenage years or when I was in my early 20s, a lot of dudes preach you got to have confidence, which is one of the definite factors into becoming one of those dudes that wants to be renowned for not only their attractiveness or trying to attract a woman. One thing I've learned is, the great thing about being a man is that you set the trailblazer for, your interactions with people. They have this whole entire thing that I fell in love with here on YouTube, which is called the Sigma male. There's different aspects to people who agree or not agree a Sigma male is real or not real, but it resonates with me. And, I fell in love with the whole entire concept. The thing about it is that naturally men have to react by not caring. That's the plausible solution, because you have to care about yourself first. And like I always say on a lot of my YouTube videos, you have to care about what the Most High thinks and you serving the Most High if you believe in that type of thing. If you're a spiritual person, if you're not, then obviously don't pay attention to me talking about the Most High. But what I will say is men on the surface level have to care about self. Women are secondary. You care about your life. You care about what the direction of you want your life to be. See, the thing about it is that transmaxing and a lot of these incels deep inside have failed because they don't have anywhere to turn to, and they haven't been advised by fellow man in order to say to them, yo, it's going to be all right. You got to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and say, yo, I am that dude. I don't care what no one thinks about me. If a woman thinks that I'm unattractive, then a woman thinks that I'm unattractive. That is not for them to decide. That is for me to decide. If a woman doesn't want to deal with me, then I'm pretty sure there's going to be another woman who will. You understand? A lot of men, because it's all these like projections. Because I think what it is that the incels or the dudes in general that don't believe in themselves or have these dating issues is because they have created the stereotype in their mind that they should be capable of getting the baddest B, okay, getting the baddest chick. And to me, I've seen plenty of bad chicks that have nothing to offer but their boobs, their ass, and their face. Don't know how to have a conversation. Damn near will look at their phone every single time you try to have a conversation with them. Their life revolving around social media instead of knowing who they are. Or excuse me, or being able to be down to earth. You understand? So you see stuff like that all the time. Observant Homo sapien says, put like this, going back to school, a nerd will have a tougher time integrating into the popular group than the opposite, like you're an ugly nerd and try to join them without being a verbal punching bag versus athletic, good looking who joins the group of nerdy MFs and their girls. It'll be easier cause he's already handsome, plus he likes Dungeons and Dragons. He won't be put in his place, the ugly nerd will. And the concept about high school, mainly because I had a different experience in high school. I didn't have a problem getting women in high school. The whole entire thing, maybe because I went to a different school, certain environments don't fit the status quo for, what it's like in high school. You understand? Now, we did have nerds in my school. We did have those that would appear as non-attractive to societal standards. Yet and still, certain guys, maybe a few guys I remember, I remember one in particular that comes to mind back in high school. He actually had a girlfriend. And that dude, you probably would identify as an incel, but that guy used to be, awkward and weird as hell in my classroom. And he had a girlfriend. He had no problem getting women and stuff like that. He didn't really complain. Now in high school, it's hormones, right? Our frontal, cortex and all this other stuff is developing. So, it's natural for us to get into conversations about women and, wanting to be so overly sexually, hyper and stuff like that. That's just a factor, right? It's what really hit rock bottom when I was in high school. I remember this one kid, I used to hang out with the cool crew. You know what I'm saying? We used cool crew. We had no problem getting women. We would roll up to other high schools, talking to women and all that other stuff and getting numbers and stuff like that. So we had no problems. But it was this one thing I remember where when this kid, I guess what you would consider an extreme incel or one that just didn't have confidence, his parents offered money for us to hang out with him. It was wild, man. The social dynamics, and it's just like, for a parent to offer money to high school kids in order for us to hang out with your son, it's crazy. But this is why I preach you have to find a group of friends where it's diverse. And I'm talking about diverse on personality traits. That's just my opinion. Mine's is not to say all be all, but I will say that, you know, um the quote unquote nerds, I guess, in high school, they are capable of what you nowadays say glowing up. And it's just about the proximity of who you're around in order to let that out. You understand? And it's nothing wrong with being a nerd. I definitely, in my own right, have been a nerd in my whole entire thing. And when you use that as a, I don't want to say a euphemism, but you use it as like one of those type of narratives or vernacular around fellow people. Um, my whole entire thing, when that conversation gets brought up, it's so funny. Um, Nerd could just be a social reject for various reasons, right? You could be a nerd and be into skateboarding, like myself. You could be a nerd and be into music heavily, or different type of genres that the people in your neighborhood or people around you don't listen to. You could be a nerd and be into anime and all these different things. So when they use the title of a nerd, I just guess that they're using it because that person is essentially different or unique. And it's beautiful to be unique. A lot of the prominent figures that you know of today are very unique. And more or less, a lot of them or some of them just didn't give a damn about what people thought about them. You know, some of them actually made your favorite technologies like Apple and Microsoft and all those different things. So, or Facebook and stuff like that. So, yeah. Observant Homo sapien also says it's funny the lengths people go through for human connection. I rather rope than humiliate myself again. If you're ugly, you should get realistic. Nothing will help. No gym, money, transmaxing. The only thing that will help on a basic level is social skills. But that's so you won't get thrown in jail for saying hello. Other than that, nature puts you right back in your spot. Well, it's amazing you say that. Um, I believe everybody has a chance, whether you're ugly or you're basic or you're attractive. Ultimately, it's up to you. Um, especially me noticing, and I don't really like to mention this, but just to mention for the context of conversation about how, you have certain people on here that feel it's their duty to shame other men based on the fact of the matter that they don't cam up and things like that. Um, there is no like insecurities that come into that. It's just choices and stuff like that that needs to be made. But to my point, um, the lengths that people go through for human connection. I mean, there are people out there who are introverted who wants to be extroverted. They don't have the confidence of an extrovert, but their personality realms on them being an introvert. And my whole entire thing is that ultimately, um, it is social skills that I do agree with you on. And just being able to just be like, you have to find a social group that you can, bond with. Sometimes you have to build your confidence up by being around the same people, or in this case, being around fellow men, so that you can have an understanding on how they roll and you can adapt that. And it can also help you with that. See, the thing about it is that, transmaxing is the extreme result of inceldom, to the point they're really ready to get all these procedures and do all these different things in order to get out of their man frame to be more feminine in order to attract someone. That's why I don't think it's automatically a homosexual thing. It is homosexual to do that, but their reasons for it isn't based on homosexuality. It's based off the idea of attention, which is a feminine trait. You understand? It's a very feminine trait. It's what women do. Men, we don't require attention. You know what I mean? Women thrive off of that. So, moving on. He also says, being a man is great. Being an ugly man is tough. Yeah. Argument from femcells is that at least you can make it up with money, despite knowing that those women will be gold diggers or a setup. And at least guys don't care too much about face. Honestly, don't get me wrong, we do, but there's more guys willing to smash a bitter face than the opposite roles. As my friend says, I'd put a bag over her head. You're probably referring to the classic old saying, butterface, in which everything looks good on her but her face. You know what I mean? Honestly speaking, is it tough for uglier men? Yeah, I guess. You know, because the thing about it is women's validations are based upon projections and just having these over like unrealistic expectations, from height to facial looks and all these different things. And you have these guys that pull in and say you're a real man if you do all this, and if you got to have the money and blah blah blah. I don't pay attention to that, because in my real life I know it's totally the opposite. I've seen guys that would flex money in front of women, and they got dissed on, they got played, they got used, and they weren't able to have the bad D that everybody would think that he has. I've seen the short guys get the baddest women. I've seen the tall guys get rejected for the short guy. I've seen the ugly dudes at least have a woman on their arm. Ultimately, you work to your standards. I just don't believe, this whole entire thing that a lot of these men talk on YouTube. I do think that there are points that they do make that is true, but at the same time, just understanding the psychosis of man, you have to will yourself away from a lot of the talking points that's made on YouTube, because I'm not going to say it's not real. It is real, but a good amount of it is projection, and it's all for the validation of women, in which I don't operate like that. I operate off of, me naturally feeling comfortable with myself and being able to go out in the world and knowing that I'm comfortable with myself before I put myself out there with another woman. You understand? It is what it is. He also says, I'm extremely ugly, but I still have an amount of self-respect. Well, regardless if you believe you're ugly male, it is a great thing to always have self-respect for yourself. You know what I'm saying? That's the number one thing that you should be doing, regardless if you wasn't birthed with the most attractive looks, or, you have a genetical disposition. You, at the end of the day, have to have confidence in yourself and be able to move accordingly that way. Because I also go off of the energy. The energy you put out in the atmosphere, you put out in the universe, rewards you tenfold. So if you are a confident dude and, you're not the most attractive looking male, at the end of the day, that energy shines on through. People still want to rock with you because of your energy. You understand? So Tone Knock to 245 says, clearly it works for some men. I think they already have that trans impulse. Early Christians castrated themselves according to a verse in Matthew. I think women will always use men and see them as disposable. I say, you do you, bro, sis. And yes, that is true. Different periods and times, men of those certain empires would castrate themselves and engage in sexual activity with fellow men. And, we can go through many societies where they've done that. So the idea of fluidity is not a new concept. It is a regurgitated concept that is just making headway again, because this society and the paradigm shift is geared towards men not being manly or reframing from their male frame or masculine frame and giving into just going on this out the spectrum of the binary, men being attracted to women, women being attracted to men, and all these different things, because now it's like the psychological mind games that's being put on with a lot of these trans that's coming out in the woodworks, or what they call femboys, in which they look like a woman, but at the same time, you're testing yourself, or you're mad at yourself, or you're psyching yourself because you're telling yourself, oh, they are attractive, but that's a man. But they're really attractive though. So it's all about these mind games that's being played in this society, these psychological mind games. It's just crazy. So Magnus Critical Leak 5045 says, I utterly bewildered multitudes. Blitz in Chits Gaming 2584 says, as someone with real gender dysphoria, having all these incels become trans and doing so only to get attention and a partner makes me mad, and the whole trans community thus seems more like a joke to the neurotypical masses of people that aren't trans because of these non-gender dysphoric incels. Thank you for that, Blitz and Chits. First, it takes a lot for people to admit that they have a mental disorder. You understand? So kudos to that. Secondly, yes, a lot of the problems that happen within, the LGBTQ community, or, those that's fluid at the end of the day, these are big problems that a lot of people need to be pretty much aware of and need to give, credence to, because it's just like, the whole entire gender dysphoria thing is already a problem, because you even have straight parents that put on this whole entire thing of trying to make their child at a young age homosexual, in which the child doesn't know any better. The child doesn't even know about that. So then they develop all these different problems when they get older. I hope you guys seen something like the recent video that I've been seeing. I was gonna do a video on it, but I'm questioning if I should. Jazz Jennings, that notable trans socialite, that the mother is now coming forward and saying that trans is having regret, and how they need to go ahead and, what is it that they do? They have to dilate themselves for the rest of their lives and stuff like that in order to have a fictional vagina. Like, it's like you are enabling that behavior, right? As a mother, and you see that child sitting up there noticing, like, this is not really good for me. Now I'm noticing I don't really want to do this anymore. You understand what I'm saying? And so you're so keen on trying to say you need to keep up with dilating yourself and playing these mental mind games when you're over the mind games. It's sad. And even on a other spectrum, I remember seeing this video of this trans man, former trans man that now is a woman. It's just a woman that doesn't have tits. And, I'm saying to myself, I thought about this. I was just like, what's really funny about this is, the gender dysphoria and all these different things that person went through. They actually look 10 times attractive before they ever did any surgical procedure to look like a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of the times, these people really don't understand how beautiful and attractive they look before they get surgery. And I see it all the time. Personal story, even still, people around me, or a person I know around me, that automatically is contemplating deleting themselves because they decided to want to become a trans man and has a child. So it's really wild about how these different things go on. Culture Invasion says, bro, I'm speechless. Killer Swag with the emojis. Tampa 81333 says, last days. Absolutely, brother. I agree with you. Israel Frazier 7335 says, even though I don't entirely agree with what they are doing, I can understand why they are doing it. Yeah, and the part of being someone who looks at all angles of a story or things that's happening is you have to just look at each side of why they're doing it in order to create your thesis or understand why they do the things that they do. You understand? Oh, and ironically, this thumbnail that responded under my comment, it was a Il Lamato. I've actually seen this person's videos. The thumbnails that I'm looking at, the thumbnail I'm looking at right now, I've seen this person's video. This is a Transmaxxer. And I'm not trying to air them out. This is a Transmaxxer. You could literally check out their page and see the videos that they make. They say, "Thank you for your understanding." I loves to talk. 904 says, "This is crazy. This is crazy." And thank you for tuning in to responding to your comments. Be on to the next one. Peace.